All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Monday night. Halloween, October 31st edition of Knicks Weekly, presented by Manscaped. Knicks go 2-2 on last week's campaign. Go to 3-3 for the season. Early season, 6 games in. So how we feeling tonight? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly that was the orange and blue tonight. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Number one show for the fans, by the fans, is back. Back in action. Back and better than ever, man. So let's lock in. You call us up, 657-383-1509, or hit us up on the KnicksFanTV Discord. CP, JD, Alex in the building. So let's talk about it. All right, fellas. Happy Halloween, man. How we feeling tonight, man?
Happy Halloween, man. Trick or treat.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Depending on which part of the fan base you are, it's either a treat that we're 3-3 or it's a trick that we're 3-3.
Oh, man. Well, after last night, I'm thinking it's more tricks. You would think it was game 46 rather than game 6. But nevertheless, that's just who we are, man. That's just who we are. So let's get right into it. 2-2 is where I expected what I expected this week. I expected to win over the Magic. I expected to win over the Hornets. And unfortunately, I expected the losses to the Bucks and the Cavaliers on the road, respectively. Look, this is where we are. I don't see it as a doom and gloom scenario. I think a lot of fans are, blaming the coach, blaming this guy, that guy. RJ's getting some heat. Brunson's getting some heat. First half of the week, Brunson was our guy, was an MVP. Second half of the week, it's rough. But this is where we are, man. We're 3-3, 6 games in. Very early start to the season. Obviously, some injuries are hurting us in key areas. And that's just it. Like I said, we saw some good things from Brunson. I thought Randall came on in certain respects. We saw some up and down play from the bench. IQ, Quick, Rose. I thought all those guys had their moments. We saw some good things from Hartenstein, especially in last night's game against the Cavaliers. RJ's three-point shot went 3 for 6 from downtown last night against the Cavs. Some of his shooting concerns. Maybe he's starting to get into his groove a little bit. Shot the ball a little bit better late in the Bucks game. And in the Cavs game as well. So hopefully he's coming around. So those were some of the good things. They beat the 2 teams that on paper they're better than and they should have beat. They had a chance in this game against the Cavs. A very good chance. Had a chance to go 3-1 on the week. Mm-hmm. Against a very good Cavs team, best three-point shooting team in the league, a hot team who was coming off of a nice road victory in Boston where you had Donovan Mitchell and Caris LeVert each score 41 points apiece. Knicks had a 9-point lead going into the 4th. Could have won that game. Things kind of fell off. So I don't necessarily see it as doom and gloom. The one area, though, that has to get cleaned up is the 3-point defense. Because right now, early, but it is abysmal right now. Knicks are last in the NBA in terms of opponents' 3-point attempts. 24th in terms of opponents' 3-point makes. And 6th in 3-point percentage. Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers shot 50 threes last night and almost converted almost 50% of them. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, Dean Wade, and Kevin Love combined for over 20 threes made in the game. And so, is it a scheme thing? I'm not necessarily thinking it's a scheme thing. I think it's more personnel deficiencies. I think our guards need to do a better job of pressuring on the perimeter. I think there needs to be better communication. You're seeing guys miscommunicating a lot. Are we switching? Are we going over the screens? Are we covering our guy? You're seeing a lot of miscommunication there. I think it's an execution issue. I think not having a guy like a Grimes out there is certainly hurting us. Guy that can run out and close out on 3-point shooters. And so that's where things are getting a little bit ugly. So those are my thoughts on the week that was. JD, give me some of your thoughts, man.
You know, in the end, grand scheme of things, it was a decent week because, it's not like you had a losing week. If the week was turned, and let's say we played the last two teams at the top of the week and we played the initial two teams at
Yeah.
the end of the week, maybe the vibes and the thinking is a little bit better. Just because everything is always recency bias. What's the latest that's happening? Um, but solid in areas and a lot of areas of improvement. You talked about the 3-point defense. That is definitely a concern, because when we talked about, last season, uh, especially what I believed was some of the things that needed to improve from a personnel standpoint. I looked at that starting five, and I know that Brunson is an upgrade at the position, but last season when we had Kemba, and you talked about that portion with Kemba and Fournier. We talk about our main guys at the starting five. They don't necessarily have the foot speed. When you look at Randall and RJ, when you look at our wing players, you're looking at Fournier, Randall, and RJ. Not necessarily your most athletic trio when you look at some of the wings we had to face this week. And so what happens on the 3-point defense is 3-point defense is not individual defense. It's team defense. It's rotations. It's communication. And is also scheme. And what happens is, if RJ's late, Fournier's late to rotate to his guy. If Randall's late, then RJ's late to his guy. So they're soon here. I'm hoping Grimes can get healthy. I don't think Grimes is the only answer. I know a lot of people look at Grimes as a good defender and think, well, he's going to be the answer. No, it's not. It's still going to be other areas. He's an improvement in that area. But the Knicks have a lot of work to do. I am a little bit disappointed about the Cavs game, TP, because I actually thought that was a very winnable game going into the week. And the reason is, you want to catch some of these teams early. When you look at this week, who they face, the Hawks lost tonight. The Sixers also later this week are 500. Some of these teams, you look at that Cavs team, when you talk about chemistry, you talk about figuring it out, that's early in the season. And you talked about a team that didn't have Darius Garland and is playing Donovan Mitchell at the 1. Right. So you would think now is an opportunity, even as you're on the road, to potentially steal a game because you're a little bit more healthier than they are. And that proved to be true because we were actually, up there late in the third. Right in the third quarter, we outscored them. And I thought we were on our way. And then the fourth quarter happened, and then things changed, and that's all she wrote. So I was actually disappointed about the Cavs game, but they have to turn it around, and let's hope that Grimes get healthy. There's some things to talk about in terms of rotations and things of that nature, but obviously it's early, right? We're 3-3. You're 3-0 at home. You beat the teams you were supposed to, and I think if you can do that early on, as you get better, hopefully as the season goes on, you start beating some of the more elite teams.
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much covered it. I think it's just getting better defensively. It's shooting the ball better as well and trying to be more of a consistent 3-point shooting team. I know that's a tall order because we don't necessarily have the personnel to be a good and consistent 3-point shooting team, but you guys pretty much hit on all the topics. I think for the schematics, though, yes, guys could be closing out harder when guys are on the perimeter about to shoot the 3. But I also think Tibbs can adjust to and come up with something other than drop coverage and just always protecting the paint. I think you have to. I think it goes by game matchup, just like how you have in the NFL, right? Not every team is going to be playing the exact same way. Each personnel is different. That goes for the same in the NBA. When you have a team that has good 3-point shooting, you have to realize we got to really guard the perimeter and stop worrying about the paint. Are these guys good at finishing in the paint? I haven't really looked at statistics yet. I could pull that up right now. But from the way they were shooting at 3, I'd rather force them, since they are a hot 3-point shooting team, to really try to drive and try to finish within the restricted area, try to get within 15 feet or less of the basket, not allowing Kevin Love, Dean Wade, and obviously Spida just go nuclear from downtown. I mean, you have two guys go 8 for 13 from three.
Yeah.
You 6 for 8 for Dean Wade. That's just unacceptable. At some point, you're as a coach, you have to realize that yes, maybe you can use this. This is what Tiz has been known for the drop coverage every single night, and it's worked for him. It's been tried and true. He's one of the most winning coaches in the NBA, and sometimes it's difficult to change, your thoughts and your perspective when you've been so successful. And that's not just for coaching; that goes for all walks of life, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to this, when it comes to who you're facing on a night-to-night basis, you got to make some sort of adjustment, man. You can't have that happen. So I'm going to put a little bit of it on Tibbs. I've been happy with seeing the staggered rotations from him this past week. I thought he's been doing a pretty good job at that. Yes, we can get to some, as JD coined, it's like template coaching with these hockey rotations from like last season. And he did some of that during Milwaukee and the Cavs, pulling guys that he shouldn't have when they had it going in the second quarter. Maybe you could have let the second unit cook a little more in the second quarter against the Cavs. Maybe you should have let the second unit close against the Milwaukee Bucks. These are the type of things, the in-game situations that we talk about. We always hear Tibbs talking about, let me go back and check the film. Let me go back and check the film and make sure that we're prepared for the next time. But you're not going to learn everything from the past. You also got to work on the fly as well. And that's, being able to adjust to a good 3-point shooting team, that's working on the fly. Being able to recognize who's hot and who has it going, that's working on the fly, because this is a team, CP, we talked about it earlier this week. This is a team where not everyone's going to be consistent, outside of Jalen Brunson right now. Yeah. This is not a team that you can always count on saying, hey, I know we're going to get effective and efficient offense from RJ right now, Randall right now. Maybe that'll turn around. Maybe they'll get in their groove later in the season. But as of right now, if you have Obi, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, someone who's hot off the bench, and they're bringing you within the game or they're helping you keep the lead, you got to keep that. You got to factor that into the equation. So I don't know. That's my thought on this past week. I think it's a solid start for the Knicks, 3-3.
Yeah.
Honestly, they are who we thought they were. At this point, right?
Yeah.
We know, look, it's the Bucks and the Cavs. We're talking about two teams that are in title contention that we face this week. We're not a title contending team. As to JD's point, yes, you want to you want to be able to defeat some of these guys while they're missing players, especially against the Cavs. I agree. I thought it was going to be a 3-1 week, but overall, Knicks are 3-3. A lot more to the season to go. I think there's still more to this Knicks team. I think it's still just gelling, figuring it out. Only 6 games in. We'll see. There's more to work with.
Yeah, true indeed, man. And speaking of Tibbs, here was Tibbs' thoughts on how the week went. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Here's Tibbs.
It reveals exactly where we are and what we have to do. And so, the thing is I thought we played well in the Milwaukee game. Played very well in the first half. After I watched the film, I thought we did a great job there. And they're playing great basketball, and this team's playing great basketball. So it shows us what we're capable of. We just have to do it with more consistency and for longer. And so I think if we do that, we'll be fine.
All right, so that was Tibbs' evaluation of where things are right now. And hey, like you said, that Cavs game was winnable. I didn't feel like they had much of a chance in that Bucks game. It just seemed like even the smallest of leads were insurmountable in that Bucks game, just because of the pressure that Giannis and those guys put on you. But nevertheless, that Cavs game was winnable. And I do agree with Tibbs. A bit more consistency on both ends of the floor could have gotten them the victory. And so it is. I wouldn't necessarily say a measuring stick, but it shows them what they need to work on. And like I said, the 3-point defense is at the top of the list. And scheme-wise, look, it's not – Tibbs' scheme is not uncommon. It's very common in the league. There's a lot of teams playing drop coverage. Utah was playing it back when Gobert was there. The Bucks are that's their game. That's their game. They're going to give up that 3. But the thing about the Bucks is that they're an elite rim-protecting team. They're elite paint protection because of the size, because of the Greek Freak's prowess. And on the flip side, the Bucks have given up the most threes in the league over the last 3 years, just based on their scheme, right? It's the whole concept of we'll give up the long-range shots, and we want to protect against the high percentage shots, layups, dunks, free throws. We want to protect against that. We'll give you those 3-point attempts and live with whether or not you're going to make those. We're still going to play defense. out there in the perimeter, but we'll give up those 3-point shots, hopefully to less efficient players, and we're going to try to protect the paint. But the thing, again, with the Bucks is that they were an elite and are an elite paint protecting, rim protecting team. And on the flip side, offensively, they've been top 10 in the league over the last 3 years as well. So, their point differential has always been on top. So with the Knicks, again, I do agree with you, Alan. Like some situations, maybe you want to bring the bigs up a little bit more to contest a Mitch, a Hartenstein. You maybe don't want to play so deep in drop coverage because, again, a team like the Cavs, at some points, they're running 4-5 shooters out there. You had Mitchell, Wade. Sometimes you had Love. Mobley's capable of spacing you out, shooting the three. So in situations like that, I do agree. Maybe you do want to, alter the coverages a little bit. And even as Jay Boogie said last night, where was the full court press on the Donovan Mitchell to switch it up, showing some different looks.
Yep.
Things like that maybe could have gotten us the game. Who knows?
For sure.
I thought, listen, I know, and I know you and I, CP, talked of, you definitely was making fun of a few things that happened with Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
And I know you made it a point to send me a few messages. But if we eliminate that, those few, silly looking shots, Cam did the best job on Donovan Mitchell last night. I saw Cam guarding Reddish from the half court line. And I saw
Cam guarding Mitchell.
I'm sorry, I saw Cam guarding Mitchell from the half court line, and I saw Mitchell trying to counter with picks, try to put Cam Reddish through picks to get off, to get Cam off of him. And I know that, I just feel like there's certain instances where, you are up double digits. You need to play matchups here and there. Like, okay, maybe Cam doesn't have it offensively, which he still shot 50% last night. But that's a matchup that you just want in terms of what we have available at this time, at who is at the best position to defend him and just try to contain him. Because I don't think Cam is going to stop Donovan. But you saw from the moment that Cam sat down and RJ came back in, Mitchell erupted again. And then that led to the rest of the team, finding a groove to finish off the game. So it's just, the coach is talking about the players, and the first half we did well against the Bucks. The coach has to evaluate himself too and look at, where are areas that I could have taken a risk, or that I could have played this player a little bit better, or that I could have adjusted to certain schemes. A player like Kevin Love, who's a veteran or is well respected, he's not a role player that's hot. He's a player that's proven. You see him hit two threes in a row. To me, that's enough for me to call out a play call and adjust the next time down court. So it's also understanding the personnel and what they've proven on the court and what they're currently doing. So all around, I'm hoping that the Knicks are able to improve there. And when you mention the Bucks, and that's the thing about the Bucks, right? We don't have right now a Drew Holiday, in terms of that type of premier perimeter defender. So that their scheme, they're able to adjust that. They have Wesley Matthews and George Hill, solid individual defenders. We're still looking for that, and that's where I talk about the personnel in our starting five. I think at some point they're gonna have to make a change at that 2 guard spot, because I don't see where else they're going to do it realistically. I think the most realistic spot is at that 2, because we're gonna continue to play athletic teams, and these games are on film. These teams are going to start looking at the Knicks and say, just put some of these starters. Let's put RJ through a few picks. They're going to get lost in rotation. We're going to get good looks against this Knicks team. We're just going to need to knock it down. So I think, you look at this week and you're playing some, that Hawks team and the Sixers, the Celtics. You got some snipers on those teams. So it's going to be interesting to see, do we get better this week defensively from the 3-point line? Or do we continue to be mediocre?
And to add on, talk about 3-point shooting and do you win or do we like to learn from this week? Isn't it Tibbs that says if we don't win, we learn? Am I right? So hopefully he has learned from this week on how to make some sort of adjustments moving forward, because going back to how I said, force Cleveland to attack the paint. Right now, Cleveland is actually the 4th best team according to Clean the Glass, when it comes to finishing around the rim, but they stink when it comes to the short, long, and all mid-range. They're the 25th, 23rd, and 26th, respectfully. So they're top 3-point shooting team, and they can finish around the rim. Not surprising because you got Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, but that force them to play that in-between game. That's all I'm asking. Force teams to play something that they're not comfortable at. I'm a Jets fan. I just had to watch Bill Belichick make my quarterback look uncomfortable, bro. Can we please do something like that? Can we please make opposing teams uncomfortable? That's all I'm asking for.
Well,
That's all I'm asking for.
We did in some aspects of that game, like JD said. I thought Cam's defense was good, and if it wasn't for the boneheaded shots that he took that landed him on the bench, he may have closed the fourth quarter. But it's as you said, that 2-guard spot is still a question mark in terms of who starts or even who closes. Fournier's not closing, but with Grimes out with injury, do you move RJ to the 2 and put Cam at the 3 and just, have them guard based on matchups? Do you go with IQ, who's going to give you some ball handling, a little bit of wingspan, a little bit of defense? But if he's not cooking, do you go to Rose? A lot of people calling for Rose to get some closing responsibilities. Rose did come in there and try to score a couple times when Cleveland was making their run. Rose has not gotten a chance to close as yet. And so how does Tibbs mix and match that? It's going to be fascinating to see, man, throughout the season.
Here's the dilemma with all that, TP, is that it's early. I know it's early, and he's played very well. But I think that the Julius Randle from 3-point line that we saw a couple seasons ago,
he ain't coming back.
I don't think that's coming back ever again.
Nah.
As a Knicks. This week he shot 12% from 3. This week, last 4 games. This week, 12%. And RJ himself this week shot 30% from 3. Right? And Emmanuel Quickly shot 33% from 3 these last 4 games. So when you look at the possibilities of, do we go Cam here? Do we go Quickly? Do we go? The other side to it is your other players around these guys are not shooting the ball well from 3.
That's a fact.
Which is going to affect you on the other end. And this is why Fournier continues to be at that spot, because he gives you some balance, at least from that perspective. I still, even with all that, I still would have faith. Like you mentioned, RJ last game, 3 or 4 from 3. You look at the history, he's had these slow starts. Maybe he gets into a respectable number quickly. Maybe, he turns it around there. I still would make the move, but I semi-understand where they're coming from, because of these other guys are not even helping by shooting so bad.
Yeah.
So it's making it a more difficult conversation.
They're not efficient, bro. Go ahead.
You know our best 3-point shooters are right now? Obi Toppin, 50%. That's averaging 3-pointers a game.
Wait. Are you talking about the guy that's playing 10 minutes a game?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Derrick Rose, 47%. That's on 2.8 attempts per game. Evan Fournier, not shocking. That's on 6.2. And then Cam Reddish, your boy, JD. He's up there, top 4. 3
Play him.
Shooter. Top 4.
Don't listen to CP, man. Forget them 2 shots. Play him.
So salute to the Cam Hive, man. Let's get to the phone, see what the people got to say, man. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Rambo from Tampa. Rambo, what's good?
Play him. I'm with you, JT. Play him, man. He should have finished the last game.
He finished against the Hornets.
Man.
He finished against the Hornets. I don't understand why he didn't last night, but yeah.
And that length looked beautiful too. Let's just talk about it. Even in the first game, that length looked really good, man. We need him out there. We really do, man. But I'm calling in today to let y'all know that it's only 6 games. Put your tanks away, okay? 2K managers, relax, okay? Okay. Our chemistry is at 70%. Once it gets to 75, everybody will shoot better. Okay, relax. Okay, we are okay right now. We got a good team. The only thing I want to ask really is Alex. I heard you earlier. You was praising Tibbs on his rotation and how he was stagnating minutes, and I agree to an extent. But I noticed something the last 2 games, and I want to see if you noticed it too. Randall in there with the second unit. I don't like it. It looks stagnant. It quickly looks lonely. Like it just doesn't look good, and I feel like he's sabotaging himself. Like, come on. But that's all I really want to just talk about because I don't feel like y'all pressed on that lately.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed Randall with the second unit, and I think, and I mentioned in one post game, it's the same thing when you see RJ with the second unit. The last 2 games, Randall has had a difficult time really getting a shot going, and I think for Tibbs, he thinks about separating him and RJ really to help them get their offensive games into rhythm. So I think that's why he's doing it, and it makes sense because you're going to need those guys. You're going to need RJ. You're going to need Randall to score, to help this team. Everyone likes to joke that Brunson, Randall, and RJ are the mid 3. Well, there are big 3 as the team's constructed.
Yeah.
So you're going to need all of them to be playing effectively and efficiently. So if that's Tibbs' way of making sure that they get their shots, a little bit of time for them to be the focal point of an offense with either rotation. It all depends on the situation you deploy that idea, but for me, I'm fine with it. And I think it was in relation to like Obi getting lesser minutes those times, which I get it. You're playing against the Bucks, you're playing against the Cavs, but like I said, we still wanted the second unit to close because that second unit in the Bucks game had it going. You know, Randall comes back in sooner last night because second unit just didn't have it in the fourth quarter. They were losing the game for us. You know, I mean, you had 10 points between the RJ 4-point foul and then Kevin Love knocking back-to-back threes.
Right.
6 points right there. They're already back in the game, so I kind of get that.
Yeah. All right. Good points there, man. Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Yuronne from Westchester. Yuronne, what's going on?
914.
What's up, CP?
How you feel, man?
I'm doing good. My reactions to this season, I'll start off by the off season. I'll rapid fire, and then I'll go to now. But we finally got Brunson, of course. So, I'm quite surprised about Brunson. I think it's a good step in moving forward. We did a really good job these last 4 games, including yesterday, even though about that big L. But it was a good step. And I do have to say that our schedule this season, we have a lot of hard games. And we know that we have all these good teams. I mean, so far the Lakers are 1-4. So, it's not a huge surprise. But looking at the West and the East and, this big competition moving forward, I think it's good. Am I surprised that we're going to win, playoffs? I don't want to go way too far, but it's a good start. And I've got to say something about Knicks Twitter with Ari from Manhattan and Papa Left and all these guys.
He's
going
in.
I
Start
gotta
recording.
say something because I spoke to them and listen, they do have a point about Julius and all that stuff, but listen, at the same time, sometimes when Ari can sometimes yap his mouth, he's got to take a break. I mean, it's just
You
crazy
say he
talk,
does what? He does
I'm trying
what?
to keep it, I'm trying to keep it PG, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, guys,
All right.
I'll end it right there because I know that you got some callers up, and
Appreciate it, man.
Knicks Nation, if you're in Westchester, keep me uploaded, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah,
Appreciate it, man. It's my guy
you updated.
Yaron, man. He's a day one. He's a day one, true day one. And salute to my guy, man. He had some smoke. He's got some
Spicy.
smoke for Ari, man. Got some smoke for Ari and Papa Left.
He said yap in his mouth.
Yeah. I mean, look, man. Everybody's gonna have their own opinion on this team and players and whatever the case may be. I mean, it is what it is,
You know, Papa Left is tweeting a response
He's
as we speak.
ready. He's got one ready. He probably has an impersonation ready to go tomorrow morning on Twitter. So
he had it in the drafts ready to go.
It's already in the drafts.
He knew one of these was going to come out.
Yeah,
and you know, Ari, you know, I guess Ari 2 months from now is gonna reference this date. Said I had somebody called, and now I'm right.
Yeah. You know it's coming, man. It's only a matter of time. So, shout out to Yuronne. As we proceed, yeah, there was a play of the week, despite what people think. There was a play of the week, and once again, the people have decided it is Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson edges out Isaiah Hartenstein and Julius Randle to nab the second player of the week, 2 in a row. Brunson averaging 19-7, 4 rebounds, a steal on 48% shooting this week. And yeah, how quickly we forget he was the hero in. I thought he made some clutch plays in the Magic game, and he was the hero of the Hornets game. How quickly we forget. Yes, the Bucks completely shut him down, and Cavs game, I thought he had his moments in the Cavs game. I thought in crunch time, they should have went to him a little bit more to try to settle things a little bit. He was definitely aggressive. He wasn't hitting his shots in the first half. That's okay. But in the second half, he was making good plays. Thought they should have went to him a little bit more in crunch time, and they didn't. But overall, I think Brunson had a good week. Bucks game, they took him out completely. Overall, I thought he had a good week, man. What'd you guys think?
That Hornets game was like, what was that 3 weeks ago? Preseason?
Hey, you would think
I was going crazy on that sports bar where he was like knocking down them clutch shots, and now it seems like it happened a long time ago. I'll say this: I think part of the interesting thing that's happened the last 2 games is obviously you have Drew Holiday, so you have that guy, and you had some bigger perimeter players with Milwaukee, and then against the Cavs, they put LeVert on him a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So when you look at that, and then you look at the results statistically, you're gonna. I'm interested to see how teams adjust to that moving forward, and if we're able to stick with certain lineups, do other teams now, put their 6'6", 6'7" wing player,
put a bigger
6'5" guy. Put a bigger play on him, get a little physical, get physical with him on screens, and that can slow him down a little bit because on this team, he does have a lot, a lot of burden, at least offensively, especially key moments. So that could be a strategy moving forward. This is something a little bit new for him in terms of being, I guess we could say the guy at certain spots.
He is.
So now he's going to face these type of, game plan. So that's going to be interesting to see. And maybe he'll face a small adjustment period there. So, but I think he'll respond just because, the guy is too much of a smart player. And I think the Knicks do have to do a little bit more around him, maybe certain lineup combinations, maybe go with a quicker guy at the 2 with him at certain spots, just to help him out. So I'm interested to see how they respond this week versus, a few good defensive teams. Against the Hawks, pretty sure they're going to probably put DeJounte Murray, who's a 6'5" guard with a long wingspan. So let's see how that goes.
Yeah, this was a good week relatively for Jalen Brunson. CP noted it. JD, you talked about it as well. You talk about the game against the Magic, overtime. He was clutch. He was a closer. We're not doing anything. We're not helping him where you have Evan Fournier as his running mate defensively. So that's a lot more work, not only on the defense as a whole, but I think for Brunson as well when it comes to, with how they get to match up somebody. If you have somebody who can knock down and play defense and force their other defender to run around and make it tougher on them, I think it opens up makes Brunson's job a little bit easier. But regardless, I thought he had a solid week. I wish he played more of a playmaker against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I thought you allowed RJ, Fournier, Randall to do too much playmaking, and it went away from Brunson, who could have really reined it all in and kept the team composed. And we just saw it towards the end of the game and in moments even during the first half where the Knicks let the game get away, whether it was like sloppy turnovers, wasted possessions, guys forcing shots. That's where your point guard's supposed to come in, calm everybody, figure out how to attack, get everyone in the right position, and do that. But overall, out of everyone that played this week, I think it makes sense that it's Jalen Brunson, especially the way he played against the Magic and the Hornets.
Yeah, I think he's earned it. Now, Hartenstein had a good. I thought Hartenstein had a good week off the bench. I did like his energy last night in particular. I thought, a lot of people disagree with me. I thought Randall had his moments, especially yesterday. But Randall has his haters, so it takes a lot for Randall to get some credit. But nevertheless, I thought Julius
should have won week one.
He could have won week one. So nevertheless, I thought Julius had his moments as well. But with Brunson, like JD said, I don't think I think he'll bounce back in a big way. He's just too smart of a player. But also, I think it was Alex that said, is there, again, in the fourth quarter, do we put another playmaker next to him? In Dallas, he had Luka Doncic. When Luka wasn't there, it was even Spencer Dinwiddie, a smarter guy that can get some guys open and make some plays, and that Brunson can also play off of. Is that an IQ? Is that a Rose sometimes? That's why the two-guard rotation is going to be very, very interesting because, somebody else in that backcourt with him to kind of take some pressure off him and make plays, I think would help him tremendously. And that's why I said in yesterday's show, Al, that's why I feel like RJ, like there's still untapped playmaking that I feel like he should be responsible for making on this team, and he's just not making it right now.
He's a wing. He's supposed to. It's the league is driven by guards and wings for the most part, and we have Jalen Brunson, our point guard. We got a point guard still. Don't worry. Even though we lost the last two, we still got a point guard. But RJ is supposed to take that next step. I mean, when you watch other teams, you just watch, like, whether it's Kevin Durant on the Nets, whether it's the Tatum and Brown on the Celtics, you even watch Andrew Wiggins at times out in Golden State. He's given some opportunities to do something, to open up playmate, to just not only be a playmaker, but to create shots for other players. You even asked that for Draymond Green on the Warriors, right? It's just somebody else to help get your better scores going. As of right now, it's probably Emmanuel Quickley, because Quickley can do some playmaking. We saw the 8-assist game, even though he didn't score. But when Quickley gets going and he can play that off-ball guard very well, you either let him shoot and he could be a dominant threat from three, or we see that sometimes he can find guys in transition. You see how he's finding Obi yesterday. He gave him the lob. He's finding him in transition. He's looking for everybody right now. So I think Quickley could be that guy in the interim that can do that. I think Grimes, when he's healthy, can do that. We saw a little bit of that in Summer League. I get it's only Summer League, but I think Quentin Grimes could do that as well. I mean, we see some, and I think Tibbs is trying to ask that from Evan Fournier right now. That's why I say there's a little bit of playmaking. We see Evan Fournier doing some advanced passes, like just pushing out in front to get guys out in transition. I think Tibbs is trying to force that. Tibbs in his presser has mentioned that this is, in the new NBA, it's a positionless league. He has mentioned that. So I think he understands that the responsibility, yes, that's going to be Jalen Brunson, who's going to be the primary playmaker, the initiator, whatever you want to call it. But you're going to need everybody else to do some playmaking. That's why I think he allows Randall, he allows Fournier. But I agree with UCP that RJ, because he is a wing, and this league is just, you're looking at your top wing talents, even Pascal Siakam, who's I know is a forward, but you watch him, he does some playmaking as well.
Yeah, it sure does.
I think he had like a 7 or 8 assist game right now where he's just like he was just going off.
Yeah, Siakam's going in. He's having a good year. He's having a great year.
You need somebody else like that as well to help Jalen Brunson to open it up for him as well.
I think they would probably want it to be Quickley. They would probably want it to be him as that additional guy next to Brunson. In terms of taking RJ out of the equation, in terms of that guard rotation, Grimes, him. The easy answer right now would be Rose, but the thing is, they've clearly demonstrated that they have a specific plan with Rose, because he's only averaging 13 minutes a game in 6 games.
Yeah.
And he's shooting 47% from three. I mean, do you know that Derrick Rose's 3 best years from a 3-point in terms of his whole career has all been with the Knicks?
Yeah. He's been
41%,
super efficient, bro.
41%, 40% last season, 47% this season. So his best years shooting from the three-point line has been with the New York Knicks. And he's shown better shooting so far this season, but they clearly have a plan for him. I don't know if it's part of, just managing his health and maybe try to uptick it a little bit towards the second half into the playoffs if they get that far. Or this is just part of that transition of a player that's just up there in age, and sooner or later you're getting to that ending point, and so you want to manage the guy's health. But and then also the timeline for this team. Like, at the end of the day, this organization has to look at the other guys because that's just in their best long-term interest. That's why Grimes getting back is going to be an important development, because, like, when you look at lineup rotations, lineup combinations right now, there's always something missing. So, like, RJ with this guy and that guy, but then you're missing defense. You do it the other way around. Too much offense, you don't have defense. Too much, defense here, you don't have offense. It's just, so you need a few two-way players that can cover both ends of the court, because we just don't have a lot of foot speed there, that starting five. So they're going to have to figure it out. And I'm going to ask you guys this with Emmanuel quickly. Are you guys starting to be a little bit concerned about a player that was advertised coming out of college as a sniper, as a knockdown shooter, and he hasn't entirely been that yet? And it's like you're waiting for it, and he hasn't necessarily been that to me yet. Are you concerned that, quickly is going to become a consistent shooter, consistent scorer, or that what we see in terms of one good week, not so, is he going to be battling inconsistency throughout his early career?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. I'm definitely concerned, but I'm also wondering, like, does he need? He does have Rose that he's playing with in the backcourt. What does he need? Another playmaker that he can play off of. I thought he and Rose played very well together, but quick, his numbers, he's just not shooting the ball that consistently from downtown. He really hasn't, and from inside the arc is even worse.
Shot 33% this week, shooting under 31% for the season. Last year, shot 34% from three. His overall field goal percentage hasn't been over 40% yet in his career.
Right.
He regressed there last season. So, like, it's just, and I like Quickly a lot. And I actually think, when he, we've talked about when he comes into these games with a game plan, understanding his matchup, understanding the scouting report, understanding what his role could be for that specific game to impact the game. He plays well and he impacts the game. But just from a shooting standpoint, he was advertised a certain way to me. And I don't know that I've seen that guy yet in the NBA. And so I'm just a little bit antsy right now that I just want to be able to see a guy that, you're open, you hit the shot. Just a little bit more consistency from a shooting standpoint. And I think that's why at certain spots, Tibbs just hesitates with him in terms of finishing games here or there. And I think part of it is that sometimes you don't know what you're going to get from game to game with him.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I wrote something for Hoops Habit a while back with grading the draft class for the Knicks with Obi, Miles Powell, and Manuel Quickly. And the one thing when I went back and looked at Quickly's shooting history is that it's very high highs and very low lows for him as a shooter from the field. And that was kind of the breakdown that I got from it and from what I read and the research that I did after the Knicks drafted him. So I'm not shocked that this is who he is. And I think for last season specifically, because I think he was better his rookie season, especially once Derrick Rose came here. But not having Derrick Rose last season really impacted him where he had to be that point guard for the second unit. And I don't think he was ready to take on that role to be a point guard. we have that conversation whether or not he's a point guard or not, and giving him the opportunity. I agreed and understand where we should have last season and not Alec Burks. But at the same time, with him having to adjust to learn that position, which is entirely different than just being a guy that says, hey, go score, go be in that attack mindset. Having to change your mind to understand how to get players involved.
That's what I'm saying.
Knowing where players are on the court, and just a complete cerebral aspect of the game rather than just being an instinctual killer. I think that throws him off of who he is and what he can do. To your point, JD, when you say he has a mindset, like we see, like when he's going in there having to play point guard and having to facilitate, we get 8 dimes. It's not shocking. When he wants to go be a killer, he can go be a killer and go put up some shots and be a lethal threat from 3. I think it comes to those games where he has to switch and go back and being able to adjust to that. And I don't think he's ready. I don't think he can do that. I think you need to tell him, like, this is what you're going to do. And you have to adjust for that. And that, from a coaching standpoint, going back to Tibbs, I think you have to say, we're going to need to rely a little bit more on Derrick Rose to be the playmaker. We got to put him out there with Jalen Brunson if this is what we're asking from him. And then you just say, go attack. Go attack. And if you find some open plays, find some open plays. But he has that difficulty in balancing because you just see him take some crazy 3-point shots where there's a lot of time left on the clock and just forcing passes that aren't there sometimes. When like that's just who he is. But I am a little concerned. I'm not entirely concerned because this is who the player I knew he was coming out of college, but it's a little concerning because JD, to your point once again, he's advertised as a shooter, and we need shooting on this team. But desperately, we need 3-point shooting on this team. We can't be this inconsistent in trying to keep up with teams who are better than us.
It's only pull-up threes. He's shooting 21% from 3 on pull-ups. Only 2.3 attempts. Catch and shoots, he's 41% from 3 on 2 attempts. So, but he's a guy on a team that really desperately needs consistent 3-point shooting, good 3-point shooting. He's a guy that we need. But, flip side, Obi's doing a damn thing in that department. If he got more minutes, maybe things would switch up a little bit. So we'll see how that works out. But let's get to that. Let's get to that. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Enter promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Yeah, let's get to that topic real quick. Let me pull up this article. Just came out.
You think they're ready for that? You think the fans ready for that article?
Hot off the presses. Yeah, we talk about it every night. Why wouldn't they be? We talk about it every damn game. Why not? So this was an article on heavy.com that says an anonymous exec fears that Knicks rising star will request a trade. Okay, here's what this guy said. In a recent sit-down with Heavy Sports NBA insider Sean Deveney, the insider was asked what players, if any, could realistically ask out of New York in the near future. In response, they mentioned Toppin as being someone people should worry about. Here's his quote. I think Obi is the one you worry about because he has done everything a guy like him can do to get more playing time. He has gotten better every year. He deserves to get more of a look on the floor. But as long as they have Julius Randle there, they are stuck. Thibodeau does not play Randle at center at all, so you can't ever have Obi and Randle out there at the same time. They will have an extension due for Obi next summer, and they probably won't give him that. But obviously, they need to decide what they're going to do with him. If they want to package him and move him, they could. A lot of teams like him an awful lot. All right, so there is the anonymous executive. You always got to like these anonymous executive quotes.
You just remove the anonymous executive and make it a blog, man. Just say, hey, the Knicks probably have to trade Obi Toppin because X, Y, and Z. You don't even need the executive.
Facts.
Come on now.
You don't even need that. But nevertheless, I mean, look, it's stating the obvious. It was all facts laid out in the article. Not facts that he's most likely to move on, but his circumstance is all facts. He's buried behind Julius. They won't play together. They're never going to play together because the Knicks need Mitch out there to rim protect Hartenstein secondarily. So you're never going to see Randle and Obi together. He's shooting the ball very well from 3. Obviously, we know what he can do in transition. He's having a good year off the bench in limited minutes. I just don't think he's ever gonna. His rising star, his full potential, in my opinion, will never be realized in New York. It'll never be realized in New York because I don't see the Knicks moving on from Julius in an easy way. And I think this kid's gonna be buried here. So then, there's gonna come a point in time when does he look to other situations to bloom? Is it in Indiana? Is it a Charlotte? Is it somewhere else that he could potentially start somewhere? Because, yeah, it looks like he's having fun and him and Quick are high-fiving and alley-ooping and this, that, and the third. But this is a dollars and cents league. So the more time that he's sitting on the bench, the less M's is going in his bank account. He's 23, 24?
Yeah.
How many lucrative contracts is he going to sign throughout the length of his NBA career? Now, I'm not saying he's old, but he's older. You know, and I talked about this with Sam Mitchell on Sirius XM on NBA Weekend, and Coach was saying the same thing. We were talking about this situation with the Nets, and you know if they move Ben Simmons to the 5, how that impacts a guy like a Nick Claxton. And Coach said the same thing. Like, look, that kid's not going to be happy about that, and ultimately it comes down to dollars and cents, and you're going to be impacting this kid's wallet. So what's going to be interesting to me is with Leon Rose's son representing Obi, how do they move from a business standpoint? Going to be very interesting to see how these next 2 years go with the Knicks and Obi, man. Very interesting.
Does his son start swinging at Leon? Like, can he get to that point in the crib? Like,
yeah, for real. How is that gonna play out? It's fascinating, man. I don't know, JD. What's your take on it?
Listen, man, you talked about the friendship with IQ, but as you mentioned, man, the more they go on, the more Obi's gonna look at IQ. Is like, listen, man, we can be friends from a distance too, because my contract is coming up, and you know I ain't get paid yet, and you know you talked about his age, CP. He's gonna be 25 years old before this season is over.
Oh, so he's 24.
He's 24 now. He's gonna be 25 in March. So he's going to be 25 shortly after the trade deadline. So, you know, you're talking about a player that, you know, is going to be entering his prime in a year or two, depending on what you base the prime at. Entering, you say he's 27, you say he's 28. He only has a couple years left. And we're talking about a guy that has yet to become a starter. He's a lottery pick right now. Listen, I thought this last game was his worst defensive game of the week. But he also had a tough matchup. I mean, he had Kevin Love, and part of it is scheme as well. But CP, a player that has made an improvement in an area where a lot of people said in this system he's going to need to improve on, and that's the three-point line. And that's what he's done. In other words, he's doing so far, he's showing improvement in areas that everybody is telling him this is where you need to get better at in order to continue to play and play more. Well, he's done that. He's shooting more threes at three attempts so far. He's shooting 50% from there, right? And he's playing less minutes, 15, than last season at 17. Like, how is that possible? Like, he hasn't even played more than 17 minutes this week. Like, how is it possible that this guy goes into a game, he's hitting 2-3 threes in a game, and you somehow can't get him over the 20-minute mark? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make sense to me. And I understand that Randall is for the most part has played well. I don't think he's played as well as some people say, because I you know, it's early, but I don't think he's played as great because the three-point line, some things defensively that I'm seeing. But he's played well. He's played well for the system. But to me, not enough that you can't tell me that Obi can't find 23 minutes right now. That if Obi is hot here, he can get a little bit more. And so we've talked about the business aspect of it. Does the connection between the son and the father, does it make it easier to talk about it? Because you already have that connection. You know, you don't have to. You can have that conversation anytime. Like, listen, we got to find a solution here soon. And don't forget what Ian Begley said at the beginning of the season. You were there, CP, where he said, you know, the Knicks may have to make a decision between Obi and IQ at some point.
Yeah.
So are you going to end up with the player that's playing not as good as this guy just because he has an obstacle in front of him? Because right now, Obi seems to be the more valuable player in terms of production so far.
Sure.
And you have to find a way to maximize, the value of these players. Because I think one of these guys are not here long term.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because Leon is still trying to make moves. So this is the dilemma you're in. You're in a market, you're trying to be aggressive, but I don't know that they're doing the best job right now to again maximize some of these chips, because you're going to need them. And what's going to happen is, as we get closer to the deadline, if this is what continues, you're going to see all the reports. Well, we don't know about this guy yet. This guy, the Knicks are overrating him. His value is not so much. And you're going to get the Knicks tax. And you're going to have to give up more assets than maybe you needed to if you just give these guys a little bit more of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, if Obi can play 25 minutes, doesn't have to shoot 50. But let's say you shoot 39%. At this athleticism, trust me, that's a valuable player at the trade deadline. In this league, you look at that Charlotte Hornets team where they haven't made any improvements at the 4. So you saw some of the athleticism when we played them. I think they would welcome a guy like him. He would fit well with some of those young athletic players. If LaMelo gets back.
Obi and LaMelo, that'd be box office, bro. That'd be
box
office.
We get
box office.
Off the glass.
We're thirsty
every night.
We're thirsty to see RJ give him lobs.
Yeah,
and quickly give him a few lobs. Imagine LaMelo, who lives in the paint.
Obi and LaMelo would be ridiculous, bro.
So this is going to be something that's going to be very interesting, and I have no idea how this is going to play out. But right now, I don't like the way it's going, to be honest with you.
JD, to your point, isn't that what the league is? It's about spacing. Having guys that can shoot threes, a stretch 4, opening up the paint so that way guys can attack easily. I mean, that's what this new modern NBA, when we watch on a nightly basis, there's a lot of guys who put up a lot of threes. Obi's doing a good job shooting the 3. Tibbs talks about his improvement on rebounding. I thought last night against the Cavs, he did a good job, not always leaking out. I thought he did a good job staying and trying to get the rebound and look for the guard and have the guard push the pace rather than always trying to leak out. I thought he did a phenomenal job on that. But he needs to get more minutes, man. And look, according to per 36 right now, if he was on the court right now, he'd be averaging 8 rebounds. If he got 36 minutes a night, he can get you 8 rebounds. I think the numbers are about, I think for last season that he said they could average 19 last season. Right now they have him at 22 per 36. He just needs minutes, man. He's just such an efficient player. His jump shot's looking better. He's shooting with confidence. He talked about that in the presser. He just needs time, man, and we're not going to know anything until it gets close to the deadline, unfortunately. This team is going to wait as long as possible to get the good deal for either Randall or Obi. And, you talk about Begley saying either Emmanuel quickly or Obi. Begley also wrote in an article saying he believes one of these draft picks this front office selected will get traded this year. One of them is getting moved.
Yeah.
That could be Obi, IQ, Grimes, anyone. Someone's getting moved, and I wouldn't be surprised because they're still trying to add to this team. That shop's not closed. They're still trying to figure out how can they make a good team, not only to be a playoff contender, but they're looking for hopefully championship aspirations at some point. Even though the journey is still out there, it's still a long journey before you get there. They're still trying to fix and make this team better. So I wouldn't be surprised if Obi gets traded. I would be upset because I really do like Obi. I think he's just efficient. He's really good. He translates to the modern game. Does he still have areas to improve? Yeah, but that also needs more playing time on the court to see how to improve. You can only do so much in practice and with limited repetition. So,
yeah.
And CP, I think they're actually in a tougher spot with this evaluation than they may even realize, because if they would have made the Donovan Mitchell trade, regardless of the crazy trades and what Danny Ainge wanted. Even if they would have done that, right? You could still, yes, you're going to get the criticism about you gave up a lot of picks, but you could still, as a franchise, a front office, you can sell Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like you can sell it, and it's just much easier to figure out how can we add role players around Donovan Mitchell than what they have now in deciding between Obi, IQ, Grimes, etc. You know why? Because not only do you have to decide between players that you still don't know what's their ceiling, you haven't seen it, but also because you have to make this determination based on if you feel that this coach is going to be here long term. Because if he's not, then maybe Obi does need to stay here. Right? If Tibbs not going to be here long term, then maybe Obi's defensive deficiencies are not that important. But if you are going to keep Tibbs here, then maybe they don't trade quickly and they do move Obi and they keep Randall. You see what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of figuring out to do, not only from a player standpoint, but because of who is your head coach. Because at the end of the day, when you hire a coach, the idea from a front office is to give that coach the personnel that best suits his system. That's the whole point of hiring the coach. And for whatever, you still see it where Obi makes a mistake here or there, and there's just a shorter leash on him. Still.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the overtime opportunity against Memphis. He went to Fournier instead of, and I thought he would have went to Obi at that point, and he went to Fournier when Randall fouled out, right? So this is in a high leverage situation. Your head coach decided to go with the veteran over giving the young guy a chance. So this front office has put themselves in this position, and I think they have a lot of figuring out to do, and they better make the right decision.
Yeah. They got work to do, man. I absolutely got work to do. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Knicks Weekly presented by Manscaped, man. CP, Alex, JD on the 1, 2s, and 3s. Shout out to the Rhyme Animal, Chuck D in the Mosh chat, reviving with the people right now. Shout out to Jay Boogie. Sends a $5 super chat, says, I wonder what Mahaliuk would look like if he got some more looks besides garbage time. Pure sniper that probably outshoot the whole team. Yeah, every time he comes in, he's knocking down the 3, man. So who knows?
CP, you don't seem too concerned about Obi being gone, but it's all good.
I don't seem concerned. Listen, man. Listen. From draft day, what year are we in? 2022. I
feel like forever you're gonna have to always explain your position.
Listen, man. I sent Julius packing that night, and he's still here. So the whole situation.
Going to the airport.
I was ready. I had his bags packed for him. I had his Uber already scheduled. Scheduled the Uber for him. Send him packing. He's still here. So, the whole situation makes no sense to me. And like I said, I don't see it ending well for Obi, because I don't see them moving Julius like that. So we'll see what happens. But I just think, I don't think the situation will work out the way that they wanted to. And it goes back to asset management. Are your draft picks helping move the team forward? He's still here right now. He's playing well, good. I think in the long term, I don't see how this thing benefits us in the long term whatsoever. That's just my opinion. All right, so to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Another interesting tidbit. This one was from Fred Katz of The Athletic. And this article came out last week, and it was about how the Knicks are using the floaters to be effective offensively. And we've seen it just watching the games, how many guys are utilizing that floater, whether it's IQ, obviously, that's his claim to fame. Isaiah Hartenstein, excellent from floater range. Jalen Brunson is seeing Julius break out the floater. RJ trying to throw a couple of awkward ones up. Hasn't had much success, but even RJ's getting into the game. And yeah.
Cam throwing underhand floaters. You saw that one, right? Where he fell? think he did it with the left hand too.
No, he did. It was on both sides, bro. He was like, "Yo, I don't see the basket at all."
He's like, wait. Tibbs told me when I get here, floater. Okay, I'm doing that.
Those are praise. Those are praise, not floaters. But I hear you, though. I hear you, man. But nevertheless, the Knicks leading the league in floaters right now, and it just talked about Tibbs, who a lot of us get on for lack of offensive innovation. Allowing guys. Tibbs has been preaching using the floater for about 2 years now. I've been talking about this. I remember covering some of the practices a couple years ago. Tibbs, especially when speaking of IQ, talked about going to the floater more because, number one, it's a more effective mid-range shot, but also it allows you on misses to rebound the ball well, because if you're going to attempt a floater, a lot of times it's in an attempt to draw the big away from the basket, go for a block shot, and that allows your big, i.e. Mitchell Robinson, to clean up on offensive rebounds. You get putbacks that way, or from Tibbs' own words, you spray it back out and maybe you get three-point opportunities that way. As it turns out, Mitch is leading the league in rebounding rate off of floaters at 28.5, which is almost as much as league average that teams rebound at 31.5. So Mitch alone is almost rebounding floaters as well as whole teams. And so this is by design by Tibbs, again, to either get those high efficiency mid-range shots or allow for more offensive boards, which would allow putbacks and more threes. And I think from a guard perspective too, if you're going to be able to draw the big away from the basket that way with a floater, at times maybe that allows you to counter a little bit. And instead of going for the floater, maybe you do kick it out on the perimeter, kick it out to your wings for some three-point opportunities. So that's an overall interesting article. I like Fred's work at The Athletic. I think he writes a lot of good pieces. But this one on the Knicks offense was pretty interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, in the article, Tibbs mentions that the floater is the new mid-range, right? And I think for teams to utilize it, it draws the bigs in the paint because you see someone attacking. So your first instinct is to try to meet them so that way they don't get all the way to finish a layup. So if you could put up a floater and you knock that down, you're just throwing off the balance of the defense again and open up opportunities. And it for the Mitch aspect of it, it kind of makes sense because I feel like if you're putting up a floater, it's easier to rebound because it's a softer touch around the rim. So that way he's close by to just finish, just to grab it, put it right back in, whatnot. But I think it's an interesting article, man. I think for the Knicks to utilize it, it's worked, especially when you watch it against the Hornets, the Magic, and against the Pistons. The floaters were just flying left and right from everybody. Even Evan Fournier is putting up his floater, man. He's starting to go back to it as well. So I think it's good in the I think it's a good weapon to have in the arsenal. But yeah, man, it just comes back down to everyone has to be able to work on hitting their threes too, because if you're doing that, you can only attack the paint so much.
Yeah.
And Hartenstein is good at it. Quickly, I feel like we haven't seen enough of him utilize the floater. Brunson, as Fred talked about, he's a 52% shooter from last season when it comes to using the floater. You just need to see that more consistently. I feel like sometimes we see the Knicks hit on the floaters and other times it's just a miss. Like I think it was against yesterday in crunch time, we see Hartenstein's floaters just not connecting whatsoever. So it's only as good if it's connecting, obviously, like any shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an extended effort from the coaching staff to just create a philosophy of just easier opportunities, more high efficient opportunities, because you have a roster of a lot of players that battle efficiency issues. So as a head coach, you try to look at the court and you try to create opportunities in certain spots on the court that you think you can help out some of these players that struggle around the basket, or that, you don't have a lot of shot creation. And we lack in some of those areas. So, trying to create a bigger emphasis on finishing around the rim, using the floater game, I think is a positive thing. I mean, I hope he floats better rotations and better minutes. I hope he can create those floaters. But other than that, I think it's a good thing for the team.
Absolutely, man. So, with that being said, fellas, this week, as I said, we went 2-2 this week, and upcoming a Wednesday grudge match with the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, John Collins, his theatrics. You got Clint Capella coming into town. Can the Knicks right the ship, man? Grudge match coming in. Trae is gonna want to cook in the Garden. But let's see how that plays out, man.
I hope if they win, they don't use that clip that we used, CP. Who?
Yeah.
Remember when we did,
yeah, right. Right.
So, I know we gave a bulletin board material, but I mean, this is gonna be it's gonna be a good week.
Yeah.
There's a couple teams. I think the Celtics also heard you, CP. So we play the Celtics this week, right?
Yeah, we do. We got the Hawks, the Sixers, and then back-to-back against the Celtics.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're gonna play your clip before the game. So
probably, man, probably. Give me some record predictions. Oh, this one.
I'm going 2-1 on the week.
Ooh, all right. Okay.
Could beat the Hawks. I don't know, man. I just feel something. Maybe it's just me living out here. I just want them to beat Boston too, man.
You feeling a bounce back? You feeling a bounce back?
Yes, sir.
I'll rock with you. I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. One against the Hawks. In Philly is a tough one. That's going to be a tough one, with Philly trying to get back on the right side of things. And then second half of back-to-back against Boston, I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. Win over the Hawks, win over Boston at home. Tough loss in Philly.
Woo! You said so we're beating the Hawks and we're beating Boston. So you're going undefeated at home this week.
Yeah.
And the Knicks are undefeated at home so far. So that would make them 5-0.
Yeah.
To start the season at Madison Square Garden. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go 2-1 as well. It's gonna shake out differently. Like, I'm going Hawks. I think we're gonna beat the Hawks, and I think we'll beat the Sixers. I think we'll lose to the Celtics. Although I do want to pick the Celtics, because I'm sure Evan Fournier will have 40.
That's right. Fournier and RJ are gonna cook, man. That's it, man.
Like, watch the next two games. Fournier is gonna be Fournier, and then we're gonna be like, make the move, Tibbs. We're gonna play the Celtics. He's gonna cook, and then he's gonna be starting for the next 40 games. So that's usually how it goes here. So I'm gonna go 2-1. And who's your player of the week this week? Let's go bold, man.
You mean after this schedule?
For these 3 games, 2-1 week. Who's the player of the week for that 2-1 week?
It's a good one.
It's gonna be a bounce back week for number 9.
Ooh, I like it.
RJ, let's go. It's time. The Hawks, the Celtics. He typically plays well against those guys. Sixers may be a little bit tougher. I'm going RJ with a bounce back week.
And stop fronting, man. We saw the clip. You got his, hit him up, man. Let him know. RJ, I got you, man. I picked you this week.
I'm giving him some time.
You don't have to go through back channels no more. You don't have to go through Puma. You got the direct line.
I'm giving him some time. It's only been 6 games. I'm giving him some time. Tib said he's in the Tibbs. I hit up Tib. Tib says he's in the gym right now. He's throwing up threes. And I'm just giving him some time to get it together, man. You know what I'm saying? RJ's watching. RJ's watching anyway, so he knows the deal, bro. He knows the deal.
Great. It's a great week to do it.
Yeah.
Who you going with, JD?
I'm going to go with Mitchell Robinson, only on the basis of he was in the running for player of the week this week, although he didn't play too well the last 2 games. But I think just because on the basis of I just want to challenge him. You're going up against Capella. You're going up against Embiid, right? You're going up against a good Celtics team. This is a good week to demonstrate that you're heading in the right direction and that you're becoming a dominant defensive center. I mean, he's challenged himself. He's talked about it consistently. So, this is a good week for you to step up. So I'm gonna go with Mitchell Robinson.
All right. I'm going to go with Emmanuel quickly. I think he's going to bounce back, get his shooting on point. He's going to be that lightning rod that we need coming off the bench, that microwave score. Get that microwave token from 2K ready.
Now let's go.
Emmanuel quickly's bouncing back this week.
Well, let's go, man. And for you people in the chat, throw your record predictions in the chat. What do you think the Knicks are going to do this upcoming week? Home against the Hawks on Wednesday, in Philly on Friday, and then a back-to-back at home against the Celtics. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Salute to the replay gang. For those of you that missed this on video, you can always catch it in audio podcast format, man. So check us out on all the major podcast platforms. No doubt about it. Also, remember that this show is presented by Manscaped, fellas. Go to manscaped.com, enter promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. All right, make sure we got everything.
You can't
else
go
running.
0-3. Tell you that.
Yeah, we can't go 0-3.
No.
Cannot go 0-3. That would be a flat out disaster. So I'm looking for a bounce back week by the Knicks.
Let's go, Cam.
Let's go, Cam, man. Real quick shout out to JT Riddick, $5 super chat says salute to KFTV, still early in the season, let's see how things play out by the end. Rhyme Animal Chuck D says J Boogie agreed. Mike Rambo says RJ with the second unit is better than Randall with the second unit, I just want him to go back to that. Shout out to Irish Cox, and that's that, man. So we see you guys Wednesday night. Number one show for the fans by the fans. Knicks Post Game Live is back on Wednesday. CP Alex JD, we out of here, man. Great show, everybody. Have a great week. Peace.